Into the Sporty Show. Happy Monday. Another weekend of football has come and gone. Another week of football rather. We have with the Champions League second leg of the quarterfinals tomorrow and Wednesday. But for today, let's take a look back at the weekend that was. I'm your host, as always, Sara Pararia, joined by the one, the only, the winner against Mendieta, KlintonCod.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that you had to at least give me my flowers just before bringing me on. Now, I am very excited, because everybody pretty much, they felt I was Leganés against Barcelona when it comes to Klinton versus Mendieta. And no, I prove everyone wrong. That's the whole idea. Leganés obviously did not do their job. I did mine.
But you won.
Yeah, I won, of course.
Allegedly.
Course. And I won proper. It wasn't like one of them.
Still counting the votes.
No, they're not counting it. It's pretty much the results are out.
The results have been tampered with.
And no, tampered with. You sounded like some APC stuff from Nigeria. INEC was not involved in the counting. I wish if you guys were Nigerian, you would understand what I'm talking about here. But no, I feel very excited, especially even getting some money, winning some money off Alex.
Alex, that's twice this week.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Ashmore.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good way to introduce him. Like introduce the loser, man.
20 euros this week,
yeah.
Once in the Champions League and then once Barcelona Leganés.
It would have been a bad week had it not for, and this is completely not football related, but Rory McIlroy winning the Masters, that made my week. And I'm a happy man now.
Sorry, Clinton, do you actually remember when we asked Alex?
Wow.
Let's bring it back to football. Bring it right back around. Congratulations to Rory McIlroy for winning the Masters once again. Another busy weekend of football, though, we've had here, guys. And we had a really fun Saturday all together. Another time, the three of us back on the pitch with all of you at Butarque, Leganés in Barcelona. We had Gaizka Mendieta join us. What a pleasure it was speaking with him. And Clinton obviously had the halftime challenge. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was literally fun. It felt like, the one thing I could say was, for like a few minutes, I felt I was a La Liga player, which felt so good. Scoring a very beautiful goal and screaming, "Soo!"
And doing your ankle.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm twisting my ankle.
I just want to point out what my highlight of the weekend was. If you could take a look at this. And there we go. Can we get it back one more time? Let's bring it back. Let's bring it right back in slow motion.
In slow-mo as
Here
well.
we go. He goes for it and over-rotated.
No. Oh,
And
wait. Am I limping off?
Yeah.
I actually meant to ask you, how are you feeling? Because you were not feeling too good after that.
No, yeah,
How's the ankle?
look at that goal! My God, that goal is so beautiful, man. Wait, no.
No, it's the ankle. The ankle goes right back. How is the ankle? In all seriousness.
No, honestly, if you look at what's happened there, the ground was kind of slippery. So I actually slipped there, and when I was speaking to one of the players, he did say I was wearing the wrong boots for, how they've moisturized the grasses, and that's
Moisturized.
why... Oh, they did moisturize.
Is this an excuse for you? You're past your prime and you shouldn't be doing double back?
No. But wait. Let's speak about that.
No, let's speak about this.
No, oh my God. Wait, let's come back to the goal. Because there's something.
They're next.
And this is, oh my, no way.
Are you good to play though now? Are you still feeling it? Genuinely.
I think in a couple of days I'll be.
You'll be okay. You're still recovering a bit though.
Yeah. But the crazy thing, this is something I did like for fun. I could literally twist twice in the air.
When you were
Oh my God.
young.
Oh my God.
All right, well, we had a pleasure with you guys. Clinton did a great job. Another thanks to Gaizka Mendieta, and we hope you guys enjoy that. We will be at the Copa del Rey final in Sevilla in 2 weeks' time, where Real Madrid will be taking on Barcelona. Guys, it's a final. So we're hoping to give you guys another pitch side experience. So make sure you join us in 2 weeks' time. Coming up after today's show, though, we do have Alex Ashmore's team, Malaga, in action against Huesca. So stay tuned right after the Sporty Show. But coming up this week on Sporty TV, we also have 3 versus Beijing in the Chinese Super League, as well as Chengdu versus Yunnan Yukon, Al Fateh versus Al Ittihad in the Saudi League, Adelaide versus Wellington in the A-League, and then in the EFL Championship, we have Derby County versus Luton, Clinton's very own Luton Town back in action. We have Watford and Burnley, Al Qassia versus Al Nasser and Ronaldo, Gimnasia versus River in the Argentina Torneo, Professional Fighters League as well for all of you PFL fans out there. Western Sydney versus Melbourne, Beijing versus Shandong, and in the Premier League this weekend, it's Everton taking on Manchester City. Oh, well, seems like my graphic is frozen. So the next match is coming up. Over to the Bundesliga. Sorry about that. Union Berlin versus Stuttgart. Boca versus Estudiantes back in Argentina. Kobe versus Machida in the J-League, as well as Urawa versus Yokohama. Anderlecht versus Antwerp in the Belgian Pro League. And another massive Serie A match. It's AC Milan at the San Siro welcoming Adamola Lookman and Atalanta. So make sure you stay tuned for all of those matches this week on Sporty TV. But here's what's coming up on today's Sporty Show.
Coming up on the Sporty Show, we're back from the weekend and we have so much to discuss. First, we'll dive into the Premier League action. Arsenal dropped points when it mattered, this time against Brentford. Is it finally safe to declare that the title is heading to the mighty Reds? Well, Liverpool fans, you might as well start the celebration preps and keep enjoying the amazing view at the top. We'll also take a look at La Liga, Barcelona versus Leganés, Real Madrid versus Alavés. The title race is on. Of course, we will discuss all the action in Serie A, and we have all the booking codes for you. That and more right here on The Sporty Show.
Clinton, what are you laughing about?
What's so funny, mate?
No. Yeah, I just remembered something from when I was growing up.
Okay, I'm so sure. Let's welcome Chantal to the show after we heard you just then. Chantal, you'll be covering social media today.
Hi, Sara, Alex, Clinton. Yes, I will be doing social media today.
Are you doing social media today?
Yes, I will be doing social media today. So send me all the best comments. I'll be picking the best one. I know Clinton is laughing because I was glazing Liverpool, but listen, you gave me an inch, I took the mile naturally. So yeah, send me all the best comments and keep the spicy ones rolling in, especially against Clinton. I'll always read those for sure. So I'm ready.
Okay, well, just make sure you're reading it out for
You can do this.
No, I can't do the accent. Sorry. No.
Clinton,
Sorry.
what accent?
No. It's a British accent. Obviously, I was just trying to,
Why are you trying to do my accent?
I mean, because I love the British accent. Am I not allowed to?
You're allowed to. You do what you want,
Well,
mate.
well, exactly.
I might say you can't do a British. Well, I can say you can't do one. You can do one, but you can't do it well.
What do you mean I can't do it well?
Do it. Then.
I mean, what do you want me to say though?
Just anything.
No, I just said it.
It was alright.
What do you mean? Come on.
All right. Well, yeah, send all your best comments to Chantal. And make sure to be subscribed to our YouTube channel because that's how you guys can get the giveaways. And we'd like to congratulate once again for winning the beautiful Sporty TV Leganés jersey. It's Babatunde Gobelhan. Let us know if you guys want something else because we do have more stuff coming your way. So let us know maybe what you want. Maybe you can get a little say in this because we will be doing another giveaway, I believe, for the Copa del Rey final in 2 weeks' time. So subscribe to all of our social media channels. All right, guys, let's jump right in to the Premier League. KlintonCod, from bad to worse for Manchester United after we saw the draw against Lyon midweek in the Europa League and Onana maybe speaking a little too soon and getting caught up in it. Well, no worries. Bayern seems to be just as poor. Manchester United losing at St. James's Park 4-1 to Newcastle. Harvey Barnes putting on a show in front of his home fans. But Clinton, it's gone from, you had one keeper now to maybe no keepers. Both the keepers for Manchester United this week have put on really poor performances. Looking ahead to the second leg against Lyon, yes, it's at Old Trafford, but your opinion, who would you start right now between the two of them?
I mean, to be honest, it's a very difficult one because, well, I think where the problem is the fact that we're using just this one bad game from Bayern there, as a bench to judge who he is. I mean, we're pretty much seeing him play. I think it was one of the games in. I remember there was a game he had that pretty much broke out his name.
FA Cup, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it might have been. I know it wasn't. It was definitely not the Premier League. It was in one of them.
Yeah, I think it was Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Yeah, and we saw how good it was, not just being in goal, but obviously saving penalties as well. He pretty much looked very sharp and compared to Onana. Now, in my opinion, I think every player, irrespective of what part of the pitch you play from, they would always have their bad days. Of course, we saw Leganés versus Barcelona the weekend, and we felt like even Lamine Yamal, who was always the guy who would, bring some kind of good name for himself. He was pretty much very silent in that one. Now, imagine, are we going to say because he's a goalkeeper, they don't deserve to have their bad days? Of course. I mean, we've seen goalkeepers that would always put on some kind of performance, but if there's only one that has kind of like made you feel like you're not good enough, I don't think that's the right judgment. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, and in my honest opinion, the only one thing I was concerned about is the fact that Onana having a stinker, right, against Lyon, and him not starting that next game, was he
playing
exactly
with the confidence?
Yes. This is the.
But would you have played Onana after that? I think. Is it more how badly he performed against Lyon, or is it also the fact that he was coming out and speaking before the match? Maybe Amorim is having a bit more of an issue. Because if I'm a manager, I would think that. Listen, everyone has bad games, like you're saying, but don't come out and talk, especially before the match, and draw all this extra negative attention and unnecessary attention, and then you can't even back yourself up. Don't talk. Just don't speak. It's better. It's so much better as a footballer because it's going to come back and bite you in the behind. Yeah. It's not Nemanja Matic. I mean, he didn't have a great game either, but everyone's focused on Onana because, as we always talk about, if the keeper slips up, it's always a lot more. It's weighted more, right? So I think maybe if I'm Amorim, the benching situation and putting in Bayern against Newcastle maybe would have been for his actions off the pitch versus on the pitch. Because you're right, everyone has bad days.
And also, I think there were reports that his partner got robbed while she was out. So I think for a week, for him and his wife, it had been a difficult week anyway.
Sorry, who?
Onana's wife. I think there were reports that was alongside that, as well as him having a poor performance against Lyon in the Europa League. I think generally, especially when it's a keeper, just to take them out of the limelight, just to take the spotlight off them a little bit, just to give them time to regroup and rethink. And to be honest, yes, Bayern made a mistake for that goal with the clearance, but the defence in front of him, Mazraoui, Lindelof, Leny Yoro.
Mazraoui had a bad game.
Awful.
Yeah.
Shocking. Diego Dallo continues to show week in, week out how average he is. Mazraoui's been really disappointing of late. Lindelof, little wonder how he's still even at the club, let alone playing week in, week out. Leny Yoro, yes, he's young, he's in his first season at the club, but he was poor again.
Clinton, sorry, why isn't Kobe Mainoo getting the start?
I don't know if they're kind of like trying to, slip in through what they had been building in his absence of injury, right? I mean, if a player has just come back from injury, I don't think it makes sense to just, jump them or just push them into the ocean without making them. I don't know if it does make sense, but we've seen it with so many coaches. We see players come from injury and they don't. We're seeing it with the likes of Alavés. So with Victor Boni, there's a whole bunch of players whom the coaches will be like, okay, no, don't just let's see how fit you are by, having these little minutes, and then it can then build you into, obviously, starting games like you do deserve. In this Manchester United situation, knowing that we do need these players to start trying to save, Manchester United for, at least let's go up the table. Because where we are currently is actually a very bad zone for a Manchester United. So I would understand if players who have come from injury not starting as they would normally start. But in this one, I think Kobe Mainoo, if he's fit enough to run around, why don't you get him in to start?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Alex, you had the permutations based on Manchester United and what would have to happen if they were to go down. But they are relatively safe in the Premier League.
You'd think so. I mean, they've got Wolves this weekend in the Premier League. They had a fantastic result against Spurs at the weekend, thrashing them 4-2 at Molineux. But you'd think that they'll be able to pick up 2 more points over the next...
So, sorry, they just need 2 more points.
2 more points, and that's
then they're
mathematically
they're safe.
What
a season we're having. We're talking about whether or not Manchester United will be safe in the Premier League.
But I think when you look at how bad the teams... This would mean Ipswich would have to win all of their remaining 6 games, which isn't going to happen. And if you look at how poor Leicester have been... I mean, Southampton obviously already relegated, but I just don't see either of those two escaping out of the bottom 3. But back to United in that sense of just, he seems dead set on this back 5, and he doesn't have the group of players. And week in, week out, it's shown that group of players can't play a back 5 well. They're not built for that system. They're not good enough to play football for Man United, let alone play a back 5 for Man United, some of them. Christian Eriksen, same with Lindelof. How is he still in the squad, still getting game time? Yes, I know he's an experienced head, but did he bring anything to the game against Newcastle? I don't think so. Manuel Ugarte, a little bit better, apart from the booking. Garnacho, perhaps the only real positive man on the pitch, along with maybe a little bit from Bruno Fernandes. Joshua Zirkzee was poor. I know he came off injured, but... There's nothing I see from this Manchester United side that I think, oh yeah, Ruben Amorim is building them in the right direction. There's little signs of, they're playing good football here. Yes, they're not picking up results, but at least they're playing good football. They lost 1 or 2-0 to Newcastle. They fought really hard. No, they're getting played out of the park every week. And every game you go into, United, they lost to Wolves in the return, the fixture back in, I think it was December. They were awful. This weekend, the same thing could happen. Wolves will be bouncing off that 4-2 win over Tottenham. A win for them, that almost pretty much secures their status in the Premier League next season. There's nothing I see from this Manchester United team to suggest that there's been any improvement since Erik ten Hag left. Nothing. Yes, I know that Amorim hasn't had the time to bring in the players that he wants, and that's what he needs. But in terms of game play and style, he's building this back 5 that he wants to use with the players that aren't going to be there next season. And the players that are here this season aren't good enough to use it. It shows a real level of naivety to continue to do this, even though it doesn't work. Week in, week out, they get beaten badly. Yes, they pick up results here and there, but they've been shocking since he came in. They've shown glimpses, but there's been nothing that proves to me that this United team is heading in the right direction.
If they were to win the Europa League, would it take away a little bit potentially from the Europa League, considering how badly we've seen Manchester United perform? And if they were able to scrape by and get it, just what would the perspective of that be? Would it be, okay, at least Manchester United have something to lean on? Or would it be, I mean, how did this team win? And what does that say about everyone else that's in the Europa League right now?
I think when you look at the players that United have, they have players that they're brilliant. They've got brilliant players. Bruno Fernandes, Garnacho, there are some
brilliant
players...
is a stretch. They have maybe one brilliant player.
No, but on their day, these players can play really well. I'm not saying they have been playing really well, but in terms of quality of players, when Garnacho plays well, he's
not
fantastic.
Brilliant when he plays well. He's good. Bruno Fernandes is the only brilliant player on Manchester United.
No, but there are players in that squad.
That.
I think Garnacho is a brilliant player.
For me,
he's not.
For me, I personally think Garnacho is actually a very good player. And when I say very good player, he does the job of what is expected of us. And he plays from the wing. What does a winger do? A winger takes on defenders. A winger finds the ball into the 18-yard box. A winger tries to score. And in all honesty, I think that Garnacho pretty much does that. The only problem here is that, of course, sometimes he doesn't have a complete dribble. Let's say in the whole game, you see him struggling with trying to go past defenders. But when he does it, you would literally see how threatening he can be.
He's inconsistent. I think on his day, he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
You look at the rest of that squad, there are players in there that are good as well. The young players coming through, Kobe Mainoo, we talk about. I
mean, we're not even speaking about an Amad Diallo who's currently injured.
Yeah.
Whom, in my opinion, I think it was since he's gone on injury that I feel like all of a sudden there's now not a lot of people that you can hold to say.
But that's exactly why
hold
I'm not considering someone like that. He's not in the squad in my books right now because he's out. He's injured. I'm looking at the players that are playing right now.
I think for now you have to take him out of the conversation because on his day he's one of the best players in the Premier League. Amad Diallo.
No.
When he's on song, he's been fantastic. But unfortunately, he's not been available for United, and hopefully will be able to get back to that level next season. But when I look at the players that United have, they have the quality in there to pick up results if they play the right way. Mm-hmm. They come up against the side like Athletic Club, who have been fantastic this season in La Liga, but are beatable. They're not the unbeaten might of a Barcelona. They are beatable. Lazio, we saw them. They got beat 2-0 by Bodo Glimt. Tottenham are very much beatable. There are sides in this Europa League, I know they won't meet all of them, but there are sides in this Europa League that are really beatable. And I think United, for them not to win the Europa League this season, would be a real disappointment, and I think a failure on the club's part, because other than Athletic Club, they have to consider themselves the favourites. Yes, I think they'll beat Lyon in the second leg. I think at home they'll get the job done, but for them not to pick up, at least get to the final of the Europa League this season, I think will be a failure for the club. But they're so far from competing with the top clubs around Europe that it would almost, with the players that they've got, it would almost make you forget about the rest of the season.
But Alex, do you not think that there are some of these clubs, especially in the Premier League, that, we see them, they are giving some kind of poor performances when it comes to their local leagues, but when they tend to play European football, they're kind of like more solid. Because in my opinion,
but United haven't been more solid in the Europa League.
But where is Manchester United currently? I mean,
they're still unbeaten. They're the only unbeaten team in Europe.
Exactly. So why a team?
With Chelsea.
But a team who's playing in European football, who is so bad, poorly, would you not give them some kind of slack to say, but how come this kind of performance you are delivering? I mean, look at how they started the last game against Lyon, right? I think Lyon was like 2 goals ahead. And I can't remember.
Because Lyon equalised in the 95th.
In the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So United were ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so United were ahead. So meaning that, they did something right that put them ahead, but obviously did something wrong that meant that, there was some kind of equalization. So when you see look at how Newcastle did handle Manchester at the weekend, right? They would always show you how poor a Manchester United is in the Premier League. But in European football, are they giving that same level of, or are we going to now say that the teams that they are playing, they're not good enough?
The point I'm saying is they have the ability and the quality to play well. We saw them beat Man City earlier on this season. Yes, it's not been Man City's best season, but they're still a very good team. They've still got fantastic players in that squad.
I feel like a lot of teams have beat Man City, so I would
but to beat them, especially in a derby, the form goes out the window. To beat them in a derby, yes, they've only beaten 1 of the top 6 this season, but there have been games where you thought they've played well. Mm-hmm. If they can convert that form into a consistent run heading into these last couple of games of the Europa League, there's no reason why they can't win it. And I think they should be looking at themselves and looking at the competition that they have in the Europa League and thinking, we can win this. Because the only team that I think, if they get past Lyon, the only team that I think will threaten them are Athletic Club. Mm-hmm. I don't think.
But this is what I also think. I also think that, for Manchester United, when it comes to European football, they tend to bring out this attitude that we don't get to see them show in the Premier League. And it's almost like, hang on, what is the difference between what happens in the Premier League compared to European football? Is he more like, these other clubs that they tend to play in Europe, in that European football side, are they just not good enough to expose how poor Manchester United have been? Like, what is the difference?
I think it's natural, and if people don't believe this, then they have to. But it's natural that players raise their level for competitions like that.
So you mean this is like the men's one?
A quarter-final of the Europa League, you're going to be thinking, if we win this, we're one step closer to winning a trophy. Yes, a game against Newcastle United at the weekend, it is a big game against a very good team in Newcastle United, but United's season in the Premier League is effectively over.
Yeah, of course.
They've got nothing to play for.
Yeah.
They're not getting
Yeah.
relegated. They're not getting European spot.
Yeah.
They've got nothing to play for. So it's only natural that the players' motivational levels will be lower. And they'll come into that game thinking, I might shy away from that tackle. I might maybe not put too much effort into this game through risk of injury because we've got Lyon next week. It's only natural that they see the trophy at the end of the season against Lyon this week. And they think, if we win against Lyon, we're one step closer to a Europa League trophy. So it's only natural that their motivational levels rise when they go into those competitions. But in the Premier League, they've got nothing to play for.
But would you not also put it that maybe the Premier League is just too... Yeah, because I don't think a team like a Manchester United, judging from what we know as Manchester United, how big of a club it is, or in terms of the past, what everybody pretty much knows for Manchester. I would not think that, knowing where they are in the league table now, they would go into any game, especially in the Premier League, not trying to get up that table, because where they
should be.
No,
for
exactly.
Sure.
I mean, this is what I think. Yes, I do understand that when it comes to this really important football, like for European football, where, like Alex said, every win is a step closer to getting a trophy. Of course, it does. It might kind of motivate them. It does something to them mentally, of course. But I also think that they don't then look at what they do in the Premier League, knowing what Manchester is, and feel like, well, I just feel like maybe the Premier League is just too much for Manchester United at this point, and they've not really done the homework when it comes to, maybe the kind of players that should be coming into the club, the ones who are available, how are they tamed, what kind of, especially the ones that have issues with maybe relationship with the coaches and like all these kind of issues going on. I just feel like I don't know if I want to give them that benefit of doubt to say, yeah, you are bad in the Premier League because it's pretty much over for you. But when it comes to this other one where it feels like there's hope of you getting the trophy, that's when you tend to be serious. I would expect Manchester United to be serious
You expect them to, but they aren't. That's the level that they've fallen to. This great club in Manchester United, week in, week out, put in performances. Those goals that they conceded against Newcastle, you'd expect from a team in the Championship, in League One. This is schoolboy defending some of the performances that they've been putting in. And this is the level that Manchester United have fallen in. The players that they've got in their squad are just simply not good enough to represent a club like Manchester United.
I think also, just going off Alex's point regarding the Europa League, it's instant gratification, right? When you win, like he said, there's something that is gained. You play 2 matches and you're in the semifinals, right? The Premier League, and that's why I keep saying the league is so hard, is because it's week in, week out consistency, and you don't see that trophy for the majority of that journey, right? You just have to keep thinking you're going to make it. But right now, they don't see anything. But I completely agree that with the history of Manchester United, they should be grinding out results to not finish in the top 10. Top 10.
Because this is a Manchester United. I don't know the last time Manchester United would have found themselves in this part of the table, because, I was just looking at that, Premier League table, looking at Manchester United, Tottenham, West Ham and Wolves. These are the 4 teams that you get before the relegation teams. And for me, I think that's the most shameful thing. It's something I would never have thought I would be seeing for a Manchester United. Like, if somebody had said to me, Clinton, let's say like 1 or 2 seasons ago, Chelsea will be the ones here, right? I would have agreed, because at some point I felt like this was great, because we've seen Chelsea get to really down levels, but it's never been, exactly. It's never been this low.
10th.
So this is, exactly. I think, Chelsea was like 10, 11,
10th.
maybe?
10th. I think they finished 10th in that season where they had a really bad season.
The last time they finished this low was 13th place. Fergie was in charge. 1989-1990 season.
Wow.
And they are now below that, because right now they're sitting 14th. They finished 13th.
That's saying, and this was like 9.
And this wasn't the Premier League.
Did you say this 1980?
Excuse me, 89-90. This was the first division, whatever it used to be called. That's how long ago it was. This was not the Premier League.
This was not even the...
like they changed the
Yeah,
name,
no, of course, I know, I get it. So when you then look now at...
that season as well, you look at parallels to that season, Fergie was close to getting sacked, but they beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final, and he stayed in a job. Ruben Amorim, I don't think he's going to get sacked if he doesn't win the Europa League. But the parallels of the journey that United were on just before Fergie, he obviously had been there for a couple of seasons, but we look at what Fergie did at Manchester United after that, and the number of titles he won, the Champions Leagues and what have you. It's the start of a journey. They're at the very bottom of the barrel. They need to get rid of half of, if not 3/4 of the squad. And this Europa League victory, similar to the FA Cup victories with that under Erik ten Hag, I would hate it to paper over the cracks.
But that's exactly why. Like, I don't think Manchester United deserve to win the Europa League, because right now the football that they're playing is not good enough, but it's so much deeper than that. This team has had an issue for so long. They're going to keep winning these, a trophy here, a trophy there, and it's going to, extend this turmoil that they're in. They need to suffer. And I know that sounds harsh, but I think it is the only way that it can help this club at this level.
I still think anyone who looks at this Manchester United team, surely, and obviously we don't know what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is doing on the day-to-day basis, apart from getting rid of staff that earn minimum wage and not getting rid of the players that earn 6, 7, 5, 10 million a year. Yeah. You look at how bad this season has been for Manchester United, and anyone who's leading that club will look at this and think there's drastic change that needs to be made. And I think, yes, if they win the Europa League, it'll be a brilliant achievement. And I think at the end of the day, if they win it, you deserve to win it. They're unbeaten in Europe. Yes, they haven't played the best football, but they've got the results where they needed to. But I think if they don't have a clear out this summer, it's one year more of us waiting for United to start this rebuild, because even if they started this summer, they're still 3-4 years away from competing for top 4 and titles. At best, that's being kind. 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We know that the best team doesn't always win in Europe, and I think if Manchester United win the Europa League, that's a prime example of that. Go.
No, I was just literally going to say that. If Manchester United does win the Euros,
the Euros.
It's
that
still
would be some
Euros.
achievement. That would.
No, if they actually did win, honestly, I would not see it as a bad team or a team that didn't deserve to win it, won it.
No, because if they win it, they deserve to win it.
Yeah, of course, because they've pretty much, if they were that bad, I think they would have gotten out of that.
But that's not true. How many times have we seen teams in the Champions League or in Europa League win, and they're not the best team in Europe?
But you don't have to be the best team. If you get the results and the trophy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then why do we call them the champions of Europe?
Because they've won the trophy. They've won the games they needed to win.
But that doesn't make them the best team. But people look at it like they're the best team.
No, I'm saying on paper they are the best team because they've won the competition. But you don't have to be the best.
So you're telling me if Man United win the Europa League...
They were the best team in the competition.
Yeah. If you don't win a competition, you're not the best team in the competition.
Exactly. Let's say, for example...
beautiful football.
Well, exactly, but if you don't get the results...
I'm not talking about beautiful football. I'm talking about teams that are just better. I think Manchester United don't deserve anything, and I also think that they shouldn't win anything if they want to turn this around.
But if they win it, they deserve to win it because they've got the results.
Exactly. No, because for me, you see, sometimes, if bad football brings you the trophy, it means you had a game plan, and it means that's good football to you.
And a bit of luck in there as well.
Well, of course, because the way I see, let's give a very good example with Liverpool in the Champions League, right? Liverpool, unarguably, at some point, we were feeling like they were the best team in the world. It was since they left the Champions League that we felt like, okay, maybe we have to give it now to Barcelona because they have been the one, or maybe a PSG, but we would always say, no, we can't mention PSG because, they are based in the French league, in the...
Liga. What?
In the Farmers League. Sorry.
Liga.
Oh, is that what you call it?
League One?
That's the official name.
Nah,
of
but
the
it's a
league.
Farmers League. That's what they call. That's what people believe it is, right? So that's why we usually don't put too much ratings on it. But obviously, sorry for anybody who plays in France, for it is what it is. But if we then come back to Liverpool and the Champions League, we felt like Liverpool, they were the best in Europe, right? They were giving all the best performances in the Premier League. As a matter of fact, they probably had just one loss in the Premier League,
Correct.
you know, and at that point, Sarah, you would have said, nah, listen, definitely these guys are the best. Like, you know, they've pretty much, even the game that they lost against a very good Nottingham Forest, you know, compared to a Barcelona who did have their loss against a Leganés, right? Even in their own home. So you see all these little variations. You would then say, okay, in the Champions League, we would expect you to give that same level of performance. But what did we see? We saw a PSG dominating both home and away from this team. Now, at that point, what does it make you feel? It makes you feel like, hang on, all this kind of, you know, high-rated performance that we see in the Premier League, how come we didn't now see it where he actually would have mattered even more, in my opinion? We didn't, but does it mean that Liverpool at this point will not be considered a good team because they have dropped off the Champions League? No. Right? It only just meant that at some point, it just slipped away from them. Now, with Manchester United, I feel like, okay, the Premier League is literally the direct opposite here now. There's one team who's not performing in their local league, but they are playing their European football. They've been winning. How are they doing it? It just means that there's something working for them there, right? That means that if they decide to get the trophy, actually, they were the best team. Because I don't think, you know, there's so much you could do to fake that continuous winning. All right? If this is working and you've hardly lost a game and you then go ahead to win the title, no matter any team that was there, whether Athletic Bilbao, who are in the fourth, they are the fourth place in La Liga, right? Yeah. And Manchester United actually becomes the winner in a competition like that. Bruh, you would forget everything happening in the Premier League for at least for a couple of days until they go back to, you know, showing us who they are there.
And that's exactly the problem. If you guys, this is, go ahead, Manchester United, and win it because you're going to put that tape over a massive hole of water. And next season, I'm going to be here laughing at you one more time. This is exactly what happened. I'm saying for you, for Manchester United fans across the world, you guys need to lose everything because it will make Sir Jim Ratcliffe realize, okay, we got a serious problem. The issue here is that whoever's in charge, whoever is making the decisions, we can see it. The football's not good. The coaches have seen it. The coaches have come in and said, players look distraught. But the decisions that are being made are not in favor of the club right now. So for me, my perspective is that they need to not win in order for them to return. Because then maybe it will spark something in Jim Ratcliffe to say, okay, you know what? We got some serious decisions to be made. You guys win Europa League? Guarantee next season you're going to be doing the same thing.
But hold on, Sarah. If Manchester United wins, you know, Europa, for example, yeah, let's forget about, you know, Ratcliffe or anybody who is in charge of whatever. You just look at it from plain sight as an audience or somebody who just watches football. This bad team, who things are not working for, they've used that bad squad. They've just gotten a European trophy, right? At that point, what goes to your head? You would be like, actually, wait. Wool up in Nigeria. I say wool up. I'm not going to say the last word. There's another one that comes with that wool up.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it, definitely. You would be like, there's actually something good from these guys if they're able to play teams who have come to compete in that second-tier European level football, and you have been able to win. You literally got the trophy. It means that there's something working, right? Right, somewhere around there.
There's positives.
There are some positives there.
I think anyone, even if they win the Europa League, anyone looking at Man United this season will know there needs to be improvements.
No, of course.
They finished 13th in the Premier League, but win the Europa League. If someone looks at that and thinks, yeah, that's fine, we'll carry on like that is, they shouldn't be working anywhere near a football club.
No, of course.
Well, what do you think happened last year when they won the FA Cup? Look who's running this club. They have no idea
But
what
they've
they're
had
doing.
a change of ownership since then.
Okay, it's still not working out.
But let's come back to the same thing again, right? How do you win a whole Europa, like European trophy? Wait, just listen to this. Yeah, because so it doesn't sound like I'm going mad. How do you win a European trophy? Now, these are a couple of second-tier good teams that came together to fight against this. And you, who's one of the most rubbish clubs in the Premier League, decides to win it. Like, you literally went unbeaten, until the point where you were announced the winners of this stuff, right? In all honesty, I think that all he's telling me is there's just something we need to kind of find a way to make it work for us back home. Because clearly, we've been able to beat this European, like...
But that's always... We do have to move on.
No, because
Manchester United show.
It doesn't make sense
But
to me.
no, this is why I always say the league is harder, because you have a team... This is a good example. Manchester United winning all these games against all these teams, right?
The league is harder.
Can I finish?
No, sorry, you finish in just 1 second. But just before I forget. The league is harder, right? But the unarguably best team in Europe before they got knocked out of the Champions League, at some point, they would have... If you ask them this question, they'll tell you maybe the Champions League is harder.
But that's... Okay, well, I don't know what they're going to say, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, let's look at Liverpool. They're going to win the Prem, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at United. Let's say United win Europa. There's obviously still a lot of games to have, but if you say that, it's because for me, these tournaments, Manchester United need to grind out less results and just have a good day on the day, right? And that's why I think tournament-style football, it's very cutthroat. But that's why I think it's harder to win the league, because you got to be so consistent. And we see Manchester United has no idea about consistency. For you, okay, let's say Manchester United win Europa League. We look at the winner of the Premier League, Liverpool. Who's a better team? Liverpool, by a country mile. So for me, I think it's, if Manchester United get it, I mean, it shows the kudos to them, but it's because they grinded out these, few wins that they needed to, but they weren't able to be consistent because in the Premier League, they're a different team. They had good matches on the day, but they can't do it week in, week out. Do you know what I mean?
But Sarah, even in that Europa, the fact that they've just gone unbeaten to the point where they've gotten to a level where we can now have some kind of visibility to suggest that they could literally win the Europa, right? For me, that took some level of consistency, because there are some teams that are not there today, which they all started together.
It's less consistency, though.
But
that's
yeah,
what I mean.
but then again,
38 matches.
No, I understand. But Sarah, I know we've had this conversation before where we said, which one is harder? For me, when I look at the Champions League, when I look at the Europa, when I look at even the conference, right? Sometimes I feel that even the pressure that comes on there probably is even crazier than the Premier League. Why? Because in this competition, you can't afford to lose games. Right? Because the moment you lose game, at some point, let's say you get to the knockout stages. I feel like what you have to be thinking at that point is much more draining, because if you don't deliver a win here, that's you out. There's nothing like next week, I'm going to try to get maybe 3 points somewhere, and I'm still going to be in the Europa League or whatever. You have to win every single one. You come to your local league, right? If you don't win today, okay, my next game is going to come up next week. There's still hope for me to maybe make amends from the fact that I've lost 2-3 games. Even when you look at the teams in the relegation, we're literally making our calculations, before we come on the show. We were saying, maybe if these people are able to win all their matches, they might end up here, or if these people decide to slip up, they might end up there. And there's still hope. There's still level of, if we continue winning our games, we might end up not getting relegated, right? But in this European football, you don't have that chance. So if a Manchester United have been able to go through all of that consistency, trying to be there, I think, I would need to give them, especially knowing how bad we've been. So are we to blame the teams they've been playing against, or are we now saying this is now a mental thing?
You can only play the teams that you're put up against.
Well, of course.
You can't play anyone else.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And if you win the Europa League, which is the second best competition in Europe, you should be praised.
Of course.
Oh, my God. Well, I hope they do, and I hope you praise Manchester United for the football they're playing at the end of this season, because it won't be me. Let's talk about another poor team this year. Tottenham Hotspur had a horrible season so far. And, Alex, it's gotten worse because of that match against Wolves that we saw. That was chaos, an exciting match for the neutral, obviously. But Ange Postecoglou, you have to assume that he's got to be out at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think the only reason why he's not out now is because they're still in the Europa League. And
oh, man, this Europa League, keeping all these good managers around.
But if they win the Europa League, Ange stays in the job, unless he decides to leave himself, which he's been hinting at over the last couple of weeks, saying that there's a leak inside the club and how no matter what happens, he's off anyway, because you can see that the pressure is getting to him. And Tottenham have been poor this season. It's the same situation with Man United. I look at that back five, or that back four. They've got Archie Gray, who's a fantastic young kid, but for him to play week in, week out, and to put all that pressure on him is too much. Romero, a decent defender. Not world class, but he's decent. Ben Davies, past it. Jed Spence,
Legend.
decent player. I look at the rest of that Tottenham team. The only players in that starting 11 against Wolves that I think, if I was building a future of the team, the only players I'd want to keep were Vicario, Jed Spence, Archie Gray, Maddison, Tell, Solanke, and Brennan Johnson. The others I'm not bothered about. Yes, you could maybe say, what about Saul? What about Basuma? What about Romero? I'm happy letting them go.
Yeah.
You've got them at the moment, and they're not winning anything. They're, 15th in the Premier League, however low they are?
Yep.
You look at how bad this Spurs team has been this season, they need some investment in this squad to improve it. And until Daniel Levy realises that they're not going to be challenging for top fours and Champions Leagues and titles without investing in that squad, they're going to continue to be mediocre every year. Every single year, Tottenham will continue the same way that they are now if they don't invest in the squad.
Yeah. I mean, between the two Manchester, it's just incredible to think that Manchester United are 14th, Tottenham 15th, a point behind the Red Devils. It's just been such a bizarre season of football, and I don't remember the last time we would ever have a conversation about these two teams being there. So the fight to the top 10, Clinton, is what we're looking at right now. Break it to the other side of the table. That's all they have to.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Before we move on from the Prem, Alex, quick chat about Chelsea?
Yeah, well, wheels are falling off a little bit. Even with the 5th Champions League spot, we're making life hard. I think when you look at the performance against Ipswich, and it's always going to be difficult at the end of the season, Ipswich are fighting for their lives. They need to win every single game to even have a chance of staying up. It's always going to be difficult. I think the Conference League, they should win that. I can't see them not winning that. The only difficulty they'll face is against Real Betis and Fiorentina, and Chelsea should beat both of those teams. But when you look at how this season has gone, and it's really fallen off. I think they were, 5 points off Liverpool when they played them back in November, December. Since then, it's been really disappointing. And yes, they had the moments, but February, March, really disappointing. I look at this squad, there still needs to be a lot of improvement. I look at the players that we've got in there. Benoit Badiashile. Yes, I know Axel Disasi has been sent out on loan. I don't think he's good enough to be in a Chelsea side. I'm suspect about Wesley Fofana. I'm suspect about Levi Colwill. Marc Cucurella has his moments as a good player, but he's shown that he can also play badly. And I look at the midfield as well. Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo. Yes, on their day they're fantastic, but rarely do we talk about Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo being fantastic week in, week out. Cole Palmer, he's on his own. He doesn't have any help. Jadon Sancho decided to put in a good performance, score a good goal at the weekend.
That was a beautiful goal.
Pedro Neto, I think, is one of the more promising players in that attack. Nicholas Jackson, very inconsistent. There's a lot of that team, and that's before I've even got it started on the goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. There's a lot of players in that team that I look at and think you're not good enough to wear the Chelsea shirt or play in the Premier League. And Chelsea need to, like Tottenham, like Manchester United, have a big clear out.
Chelsea in 6th place, only 3 points off from Nottingham Forest, though, in 3rd place. So there is still a chance here for the Blues. Clinton, before we move on, is the Premier League on the beach? In the sense that when we look at La Liga, we know that there's a title race on. We get excited. There's a fight at the bottom. There's a fight at the top. The Serie A, the same thing. Napoli, Inter, Fiore making a run. Atalanta and Bologna going back and forth between that 3rd and 4th place. But the Premier League, we have, Liga, PSG has already won, of course, just 2 weeks ago. We have Liverpool, who's 13 points ahead of Arsenal. They've pretty much cashed it in. Yeah, it's not calculated. It's not, fully set. It's not, what's the word? They haven't
won the title yet.
Nope. Come on, clinched. Here we go. They haven't clinched. How many of us does it take? But 13 points ahead of 2nd place. You have Ipswich and Southampton, who are gone. You have a Manchester United and a Spurs, who are 14th and 15th. They're not going to make the top 4, or maybe trying to make, into the top 10. But besides that, little race for Champions League, I feel feel like the Premier League has fallen off a little bit, and I just want to know if that sentiment is shared in the sense that we kind of already know what's happening here.
No, of course. I think it's this season and a few things that happened with different teams that we would expect to give Liverpool that run for their money, especially teams like Manchester City, the Chelsea's, whom we thought at some point were pretty much very promising. Remember, Alex, there was a point where Chelsea was literally getting all these games winning, and we felt like, hang on, wait, this Chelsea, at some point I thought Chelsea was going to win or might try to win the Premier League.
How silly you were.
No, of course. I mean, because at some point Chelsea was like second in the league table. Yeah. They were that good. And for me, I think it's sad, Sarah, to see that the fact that all of these teams, they had that long moment of slipping off where they just let Liverpool carry everything, and they've now made the league now look boring. In my opinion, I think this season, of course, I would agree that this is not what I would have loved to expect. I would have loved to see the kind of fight that we see here in the La Liga, where it's like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, all of these guys trying. And when you look at that bottom three again, it's like, there's just a few other stuff still going on. And honestly, this season for the Premier League, I was very disappointed. Has the Premier League fallen off? Maybe not, because it's just this season.
No, but that's not what I was saying. I just meant in terms of, I feel like in the past 2 weeks, and maybe this is just me, but when there's games on, I'm directing my attention immediately to La Liga and Serie A as well. And I think a lot of people don't pay enough attention to the Serie A, but this season, it has really bounced back because of the, fluctuation. But the Prem here, yes, there are still good matchups because there are still good teams, but there's less at stake.
Of course, absolutely.
And because of that, I feel less drawn to it.
No, 100%.
I'm like, well, mid-table, whatever, Brentford is going to take on Brighton. And even though that could be entertaining football, it's not going to add, any...
It's not going to change anything that will make you feel like, man, this is crazy.
Determined,
yeah,
and the
top is determined as well.
So it's just that European push.
I agree.
So I just feel like there was a little bit taken away from it.
Speaking on that, and this is the feeling I've been having with the Premier League lately as well. It's like when there's a game on, right? Let's say, for example, it's a Liverpool versus Southampton, or it's a Liverpool versus a Bournemouth, for example. It's almost like, Liverpool, they've pretty much won it already. Like, even if they lose the game, like, what major difference does it really do? When we know that it's not like Arsenal, they'll do some kind of unbeaten run till the end of the season. That means they could easily just win the title or give us some kind of drama happening on that. Like this, so that excitement, of wanting to go. Now, say if there was a Manchester City versus Manchester United game, we are not really watching it because you want to go get that whole drama with regards to, the different clubs going up or down. It's more like, let's just enjoy the drama between these two clubs. But the whole ethics not ethics, but the whole experience of when we don't get to see that again.
Yeah. All right, let's talk to Chantal. We've had a long Premier League chat. What's everyone have to say?
Okay, so we had quite a few comments. So I have it all categorized, but I'm going to start off with the one that says, welcome back, Sara, Alex, and Clinton. They really enjoyed you on Saturday. Then we had a few comments glazing Clinton's performance, but I'm going to skip over those. I'll tell you guys for free. Positive comments about Clinton. I'm not reading them.
Wow.
So moving along.
Read my comments. No, see, we are protesting. Don't anger us.
Okay.
All right,
okay, here's one. Okay. Anchor says, didn't know Clinton is this good. No wonder he criticizes bad players. A little training for Clinton. He'll be far better than Nicholas Jackson, although it looks like he's already better than Jackson.
Woo!
And there was a poll that asked if Clinton could play for Leganés, and he actually won that poll.
Woo!
Damn,
man. No, bro, no, listen.
But again, guys, positive comments for Clinton, not reading them. So we're moving along. Hassan, I read Hassan. Kelvin Princess, just to comment on the discussion about Manchester United, Garnacho, Bruno, and Kobe are the only good players in Manchester United, and Ahmad as well. Abu Bakar says half of Manchester United team are not necessarily bad players, but yet not good enough for the kind of system Amorim is trying to adapt. Amorim needs to be supported in the following transfer window. And there's also another comment that says that Athletic Bilbao will win Europa League. And I've seen a few comments asking for booking codes. So, as always, people want to make money. So we need some codes, guys.
All right, well, let's give the people what they want then. Gentlemen, I am looking at Atletico Madrid. Alex, you'll be there in just a few hours' time. They're taking bottom of the La Liga table, Real Valladolid. So for this one, I've gone for an Atleti win at the Metropolitano. Over 1.5 goals, at least 2 goals in this one, and I see maybe a brace from Atleti, which we wouldn't normally see, but because it's Valladolid, maybe just. Who's going to score? Julian Alvarez. No doubt. Over 7.5 corners, because I think Real Valladolid are going to have to do a lot of defending in this one. And over 3.5 bookings, because when you have a team that's frustrated and you just have Atletico Madrid, bookings are always possible. So I'm going for that. 4.45. Alex, you're taking a look at your Malaga.
Yes, I've gone for Huesca against Malaga. Huesca obviously doing quite well this season. Malaga fighting for relegation, only 3 points above the drop zone. I've gone for a Huesca win. I've gone for under 2.5 goals. I've gone for over 8.5 corners, and I've gone for Huesca to take the lead. And that's at 5.2 at the moment. So, yeah.
Clinton?
Yeah, so I've gone for the Bournemouth versus Fulham game this evening in the Premier League.
Sure you haven't picked a pre-season friendly in July?
Definitely not, no way. Now, this one I've just gone with something really easy and quite... I think there's only one thing that I kind of like, I don't know, but we'll see. Well, so the first is over 2.5 goals. The reason I've gone for that one is because the last 3 times these two teams have faced each other, they've pretty much scored 3 goals and above. I think one of them was 3-2, one of them was 3-0, another one was like 2-2 or something. So, I mean, they always tend to produce goals. And then I've gone with overall, both teams to score. And then I've gone with over 8.5 corners. I see that happening, definitely. Alex, it will be to give me 1 or more shots. At least I pretty much trust him these days. And then this is the one that scares me a lot. And I'm sure, I don't know if you guys would share this fear with me as well. First half, no both team to score.
Oh.
So I'm hoping that at least I see maybe like a 2-0, 1-0.
Okay.
I'm hoping not to see a 1-1.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I could, to be honest, actually, if you asked me for a prediction in this game, I'd say 1-1.
Well, fair enough. So it just means that my bet will still blow.
Yeah.
Because I've gone with over 2.5
second half.
Obviously, 5.06 odds is not too bad, in all honesty. And this kind of stuff, or this kind of bet view, that is, I think it should do the job.
All right, well, we will find out tomorrow. So those are our booking codes for 3 different matches this evening. Also, Napoli and Empoli on later in the Serie A if you want to sprinkle a little money at SportyBet. Shall we move along to La Liga, gentlemen? The title race continues, and maybe just, with both Real Madrid and Barcelona almost not getting by. But in the end, both teams did. Leganés putting up a great fight against Barcelona. 3 of us were there. We saw it in person. And they have to hold their heads high. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get the job done, and it was a own goal in the end, a 1-0 victory to Barcelona. But it was enough to get 3 points for the Blaugrana. And Real Madrid doing something very similar there. Looking a little touch and go for just a minute there, Alex, at the beginning. Some disallowed goals. Camavinga coming through to save the day for Los Blancos. But unfortunately, the takeaway in this game was Kylian Mbappé and a really, really ridiculous foul that he had. I don't know where you guys want to start with that, because it was violent.
Yeah, you never want to see anything like that on a football pitch. And for me, it's more. It was in the in the middle of the pitch. I think it was near the halfway line. I don't think, or they were on they weren't going anywhere. It wasn't like, if I don't make this tackle, that they're going to go on and score. Yes, you never know, but to make a tackle of that nature, you could tell he wasn't going for the ball. No one goes for the ball like that, stamping in with their studs. To put your foot down with such force on his leg, it's little wonder his leg doesn't break. When you go under a challenge like that, and a player like Kylian, he's not a dirty player, Kylian Mbappé. We've never seen him do this before, but I don't know whether it was a rush of blood to the head or something, but it was weird to see, and not something that we want to see, and a deserved red card, I think.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come up on the screen here because it was very much a deserved red card, but apparently he's only going to be facing a 1-match ban for this, which in my opinion is absolutely 3 because of the violent and unnecessary tendency of the entire challenge. But it's noted here that apparently the referee reported that it's only 1-match ban because it was excessive force and rather than engaging with violent conduct. I'm sorry. I don't know if I need something to teach me what violent conduct is, but that is absolutely violent conduct. And Alex, you're right. Oh my goodness. The fact that he doesn't have a broken leg is so lucky. And I'm happy for both of them because I think it would be bad for Mbappé if he did, players never want to hurt other players, and obviously that's something really difficult to live
You
with.
can
But
tell he's
this,
not even going for the ball.
no, but this is absolutely violent conduct.
I am every single time I've seen that challenge, right? I just keep asking myself, what was going through his head? Like, was there some kind of beef? Like, could there have been something outside of the football that's made, or could they have made a comment before the game started? Because that was extreme. For me, that in all honesty, I'm sorry guys, but I would give a proper 8-match ban.
Well, that's what I think people are a little bit
That is
confused
next
about
level,
because
man.
they're saying right now, and it hasn't been officially decided, but they're saying that he's only going to miss one match.
So hang on. By the way, which match is this the Champions League match again?
No.
Next league game.
Oh, right.
Against
Okay.
Atletico
He'll
this
be playing
weekend.
against Arsenal, but they were talking about. I know yesterday, I think when it had just happened, there were reports going around saying that because of the severity, he could actually miss the Copa del Rey final. Now, I don't really understand how that comes into play because obviously you have separate competitions, and I don't think it happens in the end. But this is for me a minimum 3 ban. And I don't care where you play. I don't care what league you play for or what team you play for. This was so unnecessary and just dangerous.
Do you know what could have happened?
No,
could have
I don't even-
He could have ended
His footballing career
of somebody.
No, absolutely.
Literally.
And you think about players that get suspended for way less and miss way more games.
Yep.
That why are we seeing this for 1 match? I don't know. It was really foolish. I think another takeaway, though, from this is, like you said, Alex, Kylian Mbappé is not a violent player, and we know that. What's going on at Real Madrid that he is acting like... We've never seen Kylian Mbappé do a tackle like this, ever. We know Real Madrid are in a little bit of a tense situation, let's say, obviously, with, La Liga kind of dwindling down. They have a massive match against Arsenal at home this week. There's a Copa del Rey final in a couple weeks, but it almost does feel, it's so uncharacteristic of him that it makes me wonder what that dressing room is like right now, because I feel like it could be a display. I don't know if I'm reaching, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it just seems, that was so uncharacteristic of Kylian Mbappé. That, there's a lot of pressure going on at Real Madrid right now that we have players acting like this.
I don't think it's so much down to the pressure. I think not everyone, but there are people that will have moments like that where they have a rush blood to the head. He could have looked at that and thought, I'll go in and try and get the ball, but the ball got away from him. It was too late and he couldn't pull out. And I think it was just a momentary thing. I think you could see him walking off. He knew that he'd done something wrong. He wasn't protesting or anything in any way to the ref. So I don't think it's a reaction of built-up anger. I think it's more just a momentary rush of blood to the head and a silly mistake and a decision that he'll look back on and think, I regret that in the moment. And as we say, he's not a dirty player. We've never seen him do stuff like that before, and he'll learn from it.
I hope so, because like Klinton mentioned, this could have been a life-threatening, a career-threatening injury. So 4 points between Barcelona and Real Madrid, Klinton.
I mean,
it's getting tight.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting tight. I don't know, because when you look at Barcelona right now, I feel somehow they would always still get the win, just the same way we saw Real Madrid luckily getting that one. Well, of course, I would even say Barcelona were even lucky, in my opinion, because their goal was from an own goal, which could have pretty much ended with a 1 point for them taken from Leganés. And what it could have meant is, it probably would have been less. How many? Well, there are four points now ahead. And if they had picked up just one from the other game, so what it would have meant is, they would have probably been 2 points
Yeah.
ahead of Real Madrid, which would have made that fight even much more tighter. But it just meant that at this point they would not be able to afford losing the game.
Yeah.
And with Real Madrid, they obviously still have their eyes on the La Liga, which is not as crazy as when we look at the Premier League. There's still hopes to fight for something, out there. When I look at that Champions League, in all honesty, I don't know what kind of miracle they want to pull off on Wednesday, but, I'm just trying to act. Sometimes when you prepare your heart for what you believe will be happening, it's better for when it eventually happens. I'm just one of those Real Madrid fans that I am just not wanting to deceive myself. I know what's going to happen, right? And I would love them to surprise me.
Okay.
But I pretty much know what would happen. So the La Liga now is where I think they still have some level of hope of clinching something this season. And
But all right, it's a one-game final. Anything can happen.
But when you look at when you look at the Barcelona they are playing against, when you compare the two teams, in all honesty, yes, of course, two El Clasico is gone this season. Barcelona has won them. Maybe Real Madrid would use that anger of what's happened in the last two El Clásicos to have some level of revenge. But when you look at what's going on with the team now, when you see a team that's getting defeated by a Valencia at home, and then going to Arsenal, having a 3-goal deficit before leaving this, there's nothing positive.
It's hard to see. I mean, even from this weekend, you're playing 17th place Alavés, you're beating them 1-0.
Exactly. And you're getting a red card as well. Come on.
I understand.
It just feels like it's just not seeable.
Not seeable.
I mean, obviously.
Add it to the list, please. Add it to the list.
Not seeable.
Yeah.
Add it to the list.
I can't foresee it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I don't like that one, man. Like seeable.
Just regarding the bottom of the table here, because we were talking about how La Liga is getting very tense at the top of the table, bottom of the table action as well. Obviously, Leganés really wanting to pull off that win against Barcelona, but were unable to do so. Meanwhile, Las Palmas absolutely dominating against Getafe 3-1 this weekend. So drama at the bottom as well. We don't know exactly how it's going to finish, Alex, but as it stands right now, we know Valladolid is pretty much out the door. And then you have Leganés, 28 points, Las Palmas, 29 points, Alavés, 30 points. It is so tight between those three. And Girona has just been sliding down this table. Girona is going to be playing Leganés next weekend, so that's going to be a massive match. But it's a fight at the top and it's a fight at the bottom. So, and obviously with That's a Sporty TV, we've got our eyes on Leganés very closely here.
Yep.
So we'll have to see how that goes. Before I jump to Alex, your top 5 goals of the weekend in La Liga, let's jump to Chantal really quickly and just check in with the comments.
So, a few comments. Marking Day to comment on the whole Mbappé red card. It was not intentional, and the referee stated in his report, quote, he was challenging for the ball, end quote, but wrong timing. AD Samuels shares the same sentiment. Most red cards aren't intentional. Most red cards are due to wrong timing, so this is a weak justification. Roddy Rich on Facebook says that Mbappe guy should have been given 2 or 3 red cards for that tackle. And there were still comments rolling in.
What happened?
We've lost her.
Oh, we lost her. I thought I still heard something. All right,
gone,
that's fine. Do you guys think that people would be saying this about Mbappe and that challenge if he broke the other player's leg?
What? Say that again?
You have Markandé and I don't know who else.
Yeah. Say they said it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, they said it's not intentional, and that's why he's only getting. Do you guys think that they would be? No one's saying that it's intentional, but Markandé specifically said he was going for the ball. Mbappe was nowhere near the ball. I was closer to the ball than Mbappe. There was not even close. No, they're not intentional. Yes, I completely agree, but you're saying he's going for the ball. I'm just saying, would they be saying this if Mbappe broke that player's leg? Of course not.
No, of course. I look at that challenge, and in all honesty, I just feel like that was just.
It was just ruthless.
Yeah,
it was really silly. That's it.
Spanish man says, "Muy fatal."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was very, very fatal. Honestly. Mbappé. Mbappé, don't do that next time, man. Yeah, I was gonna say it in Spanish.
You gotta say it with an accent. Okay, all right, Alex, let's move to your top 5 goals of the weekend. And thank God you're back to 5.
Yeah, back to 5. There were only 3 last week. So, number 5, I've gone for Nico Williams' goal against Rayo Vallecano. It was a lovely little finish, a good win for Athletic Club in their battle for top 4. Nice little curved shot into the top corner. This is number 5.
He's got it
This
in
is
him.
number 5.
That was sweet, though. Wait, I want to see it again.
This was a nice goal.
No, it's a great goal. The angle is has to be.
Wow.
And I had to whittle this list down from about 7. So I had to get rid of 2.
No, good goal.
Nice goal.
The curve, everything. We love it.
I see myself scoring.
So that was number 5. Number 4 was from the same game. It was Oyan Sunset against Rayo Vallecano. This one, similar nature in terms of the curvature. A lovely finish as well.
Wow.
Top corner.
Jeez, Rayo absolutely sat this game out, hey?
So, and of course, well, a really important win for Athletic Club, but disappointing for Rayo, who, well, I've had some...
No pressure on him whatsoever. Hey, let me stick my foot out and hope for the
That's
best.
perhaps why it's number 4. I would have put it higher, but he was in complete open space. He could have taken he could have had a cup of tea and then taken a shot. So that was number 4. Number 3, I've gone for Eduardo Camavinga against Deportivo Alavés. This, of course, one of the goals of the weekend. A lovely finish from the Frenchman. Absolute cracker.
Yeah, great goal.
One of my favourite goals this week, and well, the all-important one for Real Madrid that got them the 3 points.
Wait, hang on.
You want to see this one again?
I want to see what's making it so special.
Pass back and forth was nice. Angle was cut.
That was a nice goal.
Wait, we'll reorder it when we get to number 1. Don't worry.
Okay.
Just remember.
Now, number 2, Yasser Asprilla against Osasuna for Girona. A lovely finish this was.
Jeez.
Bottom corner, keeper rooted to the spot, and of course another long-range effort. Quite a few long-range efforts today, but good. Nice little bit of curvature, but it wobbled in the air, I think. But keeper couldn't do anything about it. And my number 1, Aitor Rual against Villarreal for Real Betis. This one, I think, the control, the ability to do this first time. Keeper should have done a bit better, but a fantastic strike. Volley, first time, to finish it like that, fantastic. So those are my goals of the week, with Aitor Rual winning the La Liga goal of the week for match week 32 or 31?
32.
There you have it.
This one definitely, I think it does deserve a number 1. You know what I would always say about volleys? Volleys.
This does deserve number 1, you say?
No, yeah, definitely.
I think Nico Williams' goal should be closer to number 1 because he, with that angle and he had the pressure on him, I think 5 and 4 would be switched for me. Okay. Just because of the time.
For me,
Sunset
after the one we've just seen, right, the volley, Nico Williams one is the next best goal.
I love this. I love this. Yeah.
Not honesty.
Take it.
And then which one my number 3?
There was the screamer from outside from the Girona player, and then Camavinga.
There was Asprilla, Camavinga, and Sunset as well.
Camavinga would be on my number 5, in all honesty.
Okay. This was Sunset's goal, I think, was my favourite of the 2, but the pressure to do that in the tight space that Nico Williams, I think it was a better goal. I just love the...
It's just the angle as well. You have to, like...
Yeah.
He's near the near post. Like, it's a lot harder to get that curve in when you are on such a tight angle. But great goals over the weekend.
No, definitely.
I'm happy that you weren't struggling this week.
Last week was difficult.
Well, let's hope for only more good goals in La Liga this coming weekend. Obviously, like I said, Atletico Madrid and Valladolid in action this evening, and Alex Ashmore will be there. So stay tuned for our social media and see what Alex is up to. But let's talk a little Serie A, because what a weekend it was over in Italy. Take a look at this.
Serie A rolls on with more action and standout performances across the league. Rafa Leao opened the scoring for AC Milan in Udine, followed by goals from Pavlovic, Theo Hernandez, and Tihani Rangers to make it a 4-0 victory for the Rossoneri. Inter cruises past Cagliari 3-1 at San Siro. Goals from Arnautovic, Lautaro Martinez, and Bisek sealed the win. with Cagliari grabbing only a late consolation. No goals in Florence, while Mosaic Hen had a big chance, Richardson's goal was disallowed to an offside infringement. In Turin, not even 2 minutes on the clock, Cup Miners opened the scoring and was then followed by Kenan England's. With only 3 minutes to go, Lecce pulled one back. In Bergamo, Atalanta finally secured a 2-0 victory against Bologna after losing 3 games in a row. And in the Italian capital, it ended all square, with Romagnoli scoring first for Lazio and Sule following for the Roma equalizer.
Well, let's welcome Lucrezia to the show, and I know she's going to be
Hi,
smiling
Sarah. Yes, finally.
after a 4-0 win to Milan
Yes.
over Udine over the weekend. Feeling good?
I'm glad, yeah.
Yeah?
Glad, but they also, I feel like it's finally a match that's worthy of the AC Milan name, you know? They displayed their attacking talent. I know people might say, oh, it's just Udinese is like a team that is like almost in the relegation zone. But AC Milan has performed worst against teams that were even worse than Udinese. So I think this is still a good takeaway, good win, good performance from them. 4 different players scored.
Yeah.
We had Leao, we had Theo Hernandez, Reinders, and Pavlovic. So it was overall
A win
very
that they needed.
top performance.
A win that they needed.
Yes, they
now
did.
they're
That. 3 crucial points.
5 points from European contention,
Yes.
Lazio in 6th place. So anything is possible
Anything.
for
They're
the
not
Rossoneri.
too far from the European spots.
Yeah.
They still have a little bit to go. Still quite a few match days, but you know what? 5 points is doable if someone drops points at the top.
Well, Lazio have to play in
Yeah.
Europa League, so I mean they're going to have one eye over here, one eye over there. So let's see. Meanwhile, Clinton, Atalanta getting a win over Bologna this weekend, and now Juve with a win over Lecce means that they are now separated. Atalanta in 3rd, Juve in 4th, and Bologna in 5th. That was a very tight game over the weekend, 2-0 to Matteo Retegui.
No, of course, of course. You know, I think when we were speaking about that game, I can't remember if I was given the opportunity to give my prediction, and I pretty much did say I see Atalanta winning. I remember you guys, you know, there was this whole hype around Bologna, which I felt like, yes, of course, pretty good run the season so far, being on, I don't know what number they were just before that game, but you know, I still had some level of trust for Atalanta. I understand that, you know, it's not really been the brightest recently. You know, quite a few things been going on, you know, the whole coach, Ademola Lookman, and, you know, all of this stuff that's happened. I don't know if he kind of like had a toll on the players or he had a toll on the team in particular, but, you know, it was just good to see them, you know, having that Atalanta that we used to know, you know, the ones that you would always expect to win from. And, you know, we're looking at that Serie A as well. I think they're also giving us that excitement that we're speaking about, you know, about the La Liga that we don't see in the Premier League. You know, this is what we would have loved to see at this stage in the game, to bring that whole uncertainty of what could happen in these dying weeks or days until the season finishes. But yeah, happy for Atalanta.
Yeah, I agree, because like I mentioned, I mean, you have Atalanta who's pulling off a win. They've had 3 back-to-back wins before this. You have Juve with their win over Lecce. They're now back into 4th.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make a push.
Qualifying for the Champions League now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inter maybe the most consistent so far. Inter, Napoli. Inter with a standard win over Cagliari, 3-1. Napoli, like I mentioned, in action tonight.
Yeah,
but
so we don't know yet.
bottom of the table, 17th place, Empoli. You think Napoli should be able to get the job done. But it's exciting because then you have teams like Como, who beat Torino over the weekend. Como, the underdog, you know, black horse that they just came up into the Serie A, and Cesc Fabregas has taken this team into basically mid-table.
Yeah, you never know.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's amazing to see a team that was, you know, in Serie B that came up with this amazing also stadium. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like by the lake.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
They're doing so well, so I'm very glad for them as well. It's one of the teams that I want to succeed more.
Yeah.
She's doing better.
And finally, one of the big games in the Serie A, the Rome derby. Roma and Lazio in action last night. A 1-1 draw at the Stadio Olimpico. And guys, I just want you to take a look at this Tifo that was had at the stadium, because it's something that you would never see in the Premier League. Clinton, just take a little look at this. You have the Coliseum.
Yeah.
The fans are holding it up. Like
Rome monuments.
Wow.
I mean,
it was beautiful.
it's really incredible how excited the Italian fan get. Obviously, this is one of the biggest derbies in the Serie A. This is the capital of Italy. We know what Lazio and Roma mean to these fans in this city. But it got me thinking about tifos in general and some of the best ones we've seen in football. And there's a few teams that I feel like we have to shout out. So I found some from all over the world. Oh, well, my producer's telling me we don't have the videos. Well, it's all in one video, actually.
Well, anyways, about this one, if you see like the background, the color, the sky is like the same color as the jersey for Lazio.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, on the Roma side, they basically had this big picture of a legend of the club.
Yeah.
And also, I saw there was like smaller players at the bottom, which have different jerseys, which basically are the 3 different teams that made up then the Roma team.
Yeah.
So it was also beautiful. I prefer the Lazio side because it's an amazing.
It's just beautiful.
To the city. You know, the colors, the monuments, but they did good. They did good.
I feel like, you know, you could just be there and you think you're in a dream. You know?
Yeah.
It just looks so colorful and, you know, one of them vegetations you see when you're dead. Well, sorry. I mean,
What?
Might sound, sorry. Why am I sounding like I've been dead before?
Have you?
No,
and then you came back? Like, how does it work?
No, you know when people give you this whole different idea as to what life is when you're gone. You know, this is what I sometimes imagine. I imagine just seeing this really beautiful.
That's what you think you see. The Rome skyline.
Yeah,
with
no, of
ancient
course. You never
ruins.
know. Like, look, I mean, or sometimes you see all these lovely, nice bears and trees with different kind of
bears and
flying around.
trees.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to find out anytime soon, though.
But you know, in San Siro, they do this a lot, like very often for the derbies. It's always amazing to see like the AC Milan side with the devil and like the Inter side with the big snake coming then fighting.
Wow.
Yeah, Inter
The
with the
colors.
snake is crazy.
Yeah,
It's actually kind of like scary how serious it is. But yeah, they love it, and they also love it in the Liga. We've seen at PSG, they love their anime. We've seen the Super Saiyan. At Marseille, I mean, they always have something going on. But it's really, I don't know. It's nice to see because even though the Premier League, we always give it the attention that it's the biggest league, but we never see stuff like this in the Prem, Clinton.
Yeah, no, I think with the Premier League, it's more of people screaming with their beer, you know, and that's where it pretty much ends. I think, but then, you know, you got to also give it to English people. I think this is what's. Well, I mean, sorry, I'm not trying to.
Careful.
I don't know how to make it sound the way
You
I
wanted
say
to.
it, but you know, I don't think English people are this artistic. You know, I'm not trying to say there's no kind of culture in England or whatever, but
I do see there's more of that passion in other countries. That's maybe what you want to say.
no, of course, there is more passion. There is more of this excitement. There's this whole preparation. There's this tradition that they also tend to carry in whatever it is they do. It's not just even about football. It's about literally all aspects of life. When you now come to England, the question is, what do they like? What's the? Do you want them to be in a stadium and showing us what Big Ben looks like in a like, you know, the big?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Or is it
Okay,
London
here we
Bridge?
go. Here we go. So I picked a couple of tifos that I love. So you have Bob Marley and the Smoke, obviously coming out. No, like this is crazy. This is South America because they also love to do it. This is Marseille, I believe. No. Sorry, this is the best one. This team is Warsaw. Warsaw. This team is known. That's PSG.
PSG,
Legia Warsaw. They are known for their tifos. Of course, you have the yellow wall in Dortmund as well. But the Polish love their tifos, and they go so hard for them. And I just love seeing stuff like this. Like, I mean, Signal Iduna. Oh, that's where Barca's going tomorrow. That should be fun. No, it's incredible. I mean, this is Endrick at Palmeiras before he left. Like, they really go hard here. And this was, of course, Felipe Luis leaving Flamengo in Brazil, his last match. And they had a few players that were retiring at the same time. So they had, you know, certain photos of them that, like, you know, the fans have drawn. Yeah. And I just feel like, I just love seeing this. Other country that loves tifos is actually Turkey. Galatasaray, they've done some crazy ones. So it's nice to see. I do love it. Clinton, you should do a tifo for the front of our desk.
No, I think they should be doing one for me before I go on to play my next challenge against Lamine Yamal.
So that's the next step. That's who you're trying to trying to reach.
No, not trying to reach.
Congrats on Saturday, by the way.
Thank you.
Congrats. Congrats.
Yeah,
you did good.
I'm happy that people are beginning to see my, you know, how good I am on the pitch. It's not just talking. It's more of you didn't have to bring that in. let's just let the backflip go.
Oh my God.
Not going to say anything. All right, guys, let's move on to the best and the worst teams of the week. You know that I've been doing this new segment where I pick the best 11 of the weekend and the worst 11. So naturally, let's start with the best, shall we? Let's start on a positive note and then just plummet.
This is the one I love watching. I wish Alex was here as well.
I wish. But now we're going to get Lucrezia's opinion.
Sorry,
So,
I'm not enough.
No, I'm happy. No, honestly, no. I
it's
just,
okay.
I know
Clinton,
what I'm
it's
saying.
fine.
No.
It's fine. Let's go. Sarah, start. Move on.
okay, so as the keeper, I've gone for our boy Dimitrovic. We have to give Leganés some love, and he made some massive saves against Barcelona. So I think it's only fair that we have a Leganés representative. My back four, I've gone for Ruibal, which happens to be another defender that Alex took as one of the goals in La Liga. Betis getting that win. Incredible game from Ruibal. Ian Maatsen returns to my best 11 as Aston Villa smash Southampton. He was brilliant in this game. Inigo Martinez, probably the best player on the pitch for Barcelona this weekend. And Tarkowski as Everton beat Nottingham Forest. He had a brilliant match, and so I'm going to go with that as my back four. In the middle, Ait Nouri of Wolves. We spoke about Wolves beating Spurs. A goal and an assist. Player of the match, no question. Camavinga for... You know why I put Camavinga in, actually? I mean, of course, he scored the winning goal for Real Madrid, but he was arguably one of the worst players for Madrid against Arsenal. He picked up that red card.
Yeah.
You come into this game, you know it's a must-win based on Barcelona. Yeah. You change your mentality. I love to see that. I love to see. So Camavinga, I'm giving you a massive shout because you really turned it around this week, and that's what Real Madrid needed. And Kovacic, after Manchester City beat, sorry, I almost said United. Manchester City beat Crystal Palace 5-2. Kovacic, one of the best players in the midfield there, so gonna give Man City some love because this might be the only time we see a Man City player
on there, okay?
Yeah, getting.
To be honest, there's a Manchester City player I thought would have made it to that left back, instead of
Nico O'Reilly.
Absolutely, because I think he's one of the most consistent guys in the Manchester City jersey currently, and he's the one person I love to see. When you look at that game, Manchester City had, I believe he did get an assist.
He scored.
Oh, he even scored as well.
He scored the last goal.
The guy is one guy to watch out for. I don't think he's one of those that I don't see Pep Guardiola letting that guy go anytime soon. He is literally a proper asset for that. Anytime he comes on, there's just something drastic changing from that left side of the pitch for Manchester City. It's almost like there's that relationship that's been built between that left back and the left forward. Say, for example, if it was Jeremy Doku in there, like the relationship going on between, just the same way we obviously see the Lamine Yamal and Koundé, right? This is what I'm beginning to think would be happening with that O'Reilly and anyone who Pep Guardiola would decide to start on that left wing. But honestly, I would have put him there.
He's getting an honorable mention. I am trying to just pick one player from every team to try and give everyone a bit of love here.
I personally think, we want to, I would love this stuff to be very honest. Like, instead of wanting to just give something for a team, I would want the best to get on that list. Like, whether, you have like 5 players from one team, so long as these guys were able to deliver to that level that we believe they were the best in that week, I think you should be giving them the chance.
Why don't you make one too?
No, I'm happy for you to do it.
Why
But
don't you? Hold on.
But that's the reason why you do it for us to have our comments on, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, Clinton, you have to...
So for me, I'm saying, because I've heard you speak twice now. You've said that you want to give this team a shout. Right? For me,
I don't know.
No, sorry?
It's kind of,
Clinton,
I think it's
I have
fair.
to pick 11 players from the entire world.
We want the best.
The entire
That's what I'm saying.
world.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
We want to see the best. We don't want to see selection based on the fact that every team deserves a shout. I don't know if you understand. I'm not saying all these are good selections.
Sorry,
but
she's not.
I'm just going to put Barcelona starting 11.
Assuming they were the best, I would be very happy to see that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But that's boring because at least this way we also get to talk about other leagues. Because last week, for example, remember I had a player from Boca Juniors who won, and you're not one.
No. But you've just said it, right? These are the best 11 from the weekend,
yeah.
Right? For me, I understand the best as being the best.
Like the single players,
Wait,
I guess.
Players, I'm not saying let's find the best from each win. Let's give every team a shout. I want to see the best.
Sorry, I know you don't have your glasses because you gave them away, but what does it say at the top of the screen? Sorry.
Sarah's
Sarah,
best
thank
11.
you very much. All right, up front, I've gone
it's
for
not- but there is-
Harvey
No,
Barnes,
but the
who
reason why
scored
you're
2
reading- the
goals
reason-
against Newcastle. Newcastle absolutely smashed
wait, Sarah.
Manchester United.
Wait. The reason why Sarah is giving us her best is for us to have our opinions on her best, wasn't it?
I guess. Yeah,
Okay, thank
you
you.
gave
Let's-
your
let's end
opinion.
it.
She's giving hers, and
No,
the
no,
way
I don't
she
want your
tries to do
opinion.
that.
Oh, you know, okay. Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
I
All
no
right,
longer
sorry.
want it. Just wait till you get to my worst, though. I know it's going to come. Harvey Barnes, 2 goals against Manchester United. Absolute show at St. James's. Up front, Matteo Retegui. And there was one player that I also really wanted to put up top there, and he's getting an honorable mention. Edikike from Frankfurt. Had an amazing match, but because Atalanta were playing Bologna and Frankfurt were playing Heidenheim a little bit lower level in the table. I just know how big of a match that was, so I'm going to give some love to Retegui. Also, I know Guillaume is screaming for Kyle Larin, Canadian legend at Mallorca, who got on the board and got the win for them this weekend as well. And I'm going for Matthias Sule because the goal, if you wanted to see good goals this weekend,
Yes.
Clinton, we got to look at that goal against Lazio.
I saw his one.
Great goal.
Equalizer, yeah, amazing.
Great goal. You get in there. So let me know who you agree with, who you don't, and let Chantal know, and then she'll let us know in a bit. But let's go to the worst 11, because guess what? I don't want Clinton's opinion.
You've just said it. Chantal should give some kind of opinion. Well, I get it. Okay.
All right, and let me tell you why. No, because I back myself. So I've gone for Bayern Deer, but you could have put Andrea Onana. In fact, you could have probably put any Manchester United. Yeah.
Starting
We're
11,
digging
see?
deep. Yeah. Bad performance from Bayern Deer, and we know that. And players have bad performances. No shade to him, but it wasn't great on the day. Archie Gray, really poor from Spurs, as we know, losing 4-2 to Wolves. Adebayo, one of the worst players for Chelsea against Ipswich on the day. We know that Chelsea have defensive problems, and I think Tosin is a big one for them. Murillo for Marseille. Marseille losing 3-0 to Monaco. It can't happen. Shocking performance, and I've gone for Rico from Getafe. He was the player that was sent off and helped Las Palmas get a 3-0 win. So that's my back four. In the middle, I've gone for Daichi Kamada. Really poor performance against Man City. Crystal Palace, actually last week Crystal Palace had some players that were in the best, and now we've gone for the worst. Yep, so that's what football does. I've gone for Fabian, who I think could have done more in this match against Atalanta. He got pulled off in just after the first half, so unfortunate for the youngster. And I'll never get this name right, but Ekalenka, Udinese.
That wasn't bad.
Sorry,
No.
best player on the pitch because Milan won 4-0. Losing 4-0 to any team, you're going to be getting put into the worst four. Okay, I mean the worst 11. So I've gone for Benedicea of Sociedad. We know that they lost over the weekend. He also wasn't able to finish the match and hasn't been performing that well for La Real of late. Kylian Mbappé, obviously the red card in that challenge. You deserve to get right in there. Now let me explain. Ademola Lookman gets in there because do you remember, Clinton, when I said Lamine Yamal was in it last weekend? Because we know how good Ademola Lookman is. That for his level, playing against a team like Bologna, I wanted to see more from you. He had 12 out of 20 accurate passes, 19 balls lost. This is not an Ademola Lookman that we're used to. So for his level, we threw him in. So also because our producer wanted to cause not peace problems.
No. I mean, like you said, when you were doing the last worst 11s, in the last weekend, you did have Lamine Yamal there, and for me, I'm not going to see this as you trying to, have some kind of trouble. It's if that's the fact. I didn't watch the game, unfortunately, but when I looked at the score sheet and I didn't see Ademola Lookman, first of all, I was quite disappointed because if they've scored 2 goals or 3 goals, I would always love to see that name there because we pretty much understand how much he's been a very strong guy for the team, and he's always the guy trying to find goals. And if he's playing and he's not been mentioned, knowing how good he is as a player, then he must have had a bad game. Which, honestly, players who have bad games, like that same Bayern there that's made it to the worst goalkeeper.
He might have the best game against Lyon next week.
I mean, he might. And remember the game the game that brought out his name. He was literally, at that point, the best goalkeeper a lot of Manchester United fans would have seen after, so many years, or maybe even after David De Gea. But now he's gotten up to be the worst keeper, for that weekend. Next week, it could turn out to be the best. Who knows? Ademola Lookman, same. Kylian Mbappé gets a red card, and, for that really bad challenge, I think he's definitely, I cannot argue that one at all.
Lucrezia, is there anyone that you would add to the best or the worst, or...
Oh, okay. Okay.
What, is your name Lucrezia?
Okay. I'm not saying
exactly.
that.
No, go.
I'm not, no, of course.
I'm
You're the
right
one that's been asked.
No, I actually agree with your picks. As we said, not
Any
the best
Milan
game.
players, maybe you could make a
I don't know if I
fight.
want to put them in the best, honestly. Like, they did well. They played well, they performed well, but I don't... Again, Udinese, we said.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, like, their best game, but
Yeah.
it was a good game. Rangers could be one of the best.
He's always good.
He's always one of the best
He's the best
players.
performing player for AC Milan.
And I'm glad also Theo Hernandez is back at scoring, because we haven't seen
You guys
goals
need
from
that.
him
You need that leadership
in
from
a
him.
while. And also I wanted to quickly mention Mike Maignan. I don't know if you saw what happened. That it was like a little scary moment. He went out of the box and clashed against Jimenez from AC Milan, and he fell on the pitch unconscious, but he's fine now. So I just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
That was a little scary for everyone watching, but he's fine.
There's one player, obviously, in your first 11. I'm trying to remember who you put
In the
as
best or
your-
the worst?
No, the best.
The best.
I can't remember which player you had as the one up front. Obviously,
Retegui,
Retegui and Sule.
Okay, yeah, it was.
And
Harvey Barnes.
Barnes, yeah.
Do you know somebody I would consider putting on there?
Tell me. I have a few
Just for, or maybe just honorary mentioned, I would have put Isaac there because of the one assist he had. I don't know if he had a goal in that game, but there's this really beautiful assist that my man had, and I was like, bruh, any club that gets this guy next, they should just consider themselves lucky. I understand that Barcelona, they have plans. I can't remember how good that is going, but if he ends up in Barcelona after Lewandowski, I'll be so angry, because I would just feel like at that point, if you have an Alexandra Isak, you have Lamine Yamal, and you have Rafinha. Listen, forget it, man. Done. Everything is gone. But he hardly has bad games, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he's one of those guys that when it comes to consistency, when it comes to both even the goals and the assists, causing trouble in, like, he's just a complete striker.
Yeah, he didn't score, but he had an amazing game.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Oh, he's always there. He's always there.
Always ready for Newcastle, yeah.
A few more honorable mentions just for my best 11. I said Edikike, Duvikas from Como, who got that winner, obviously. And if anyone noticed, my coach of the weekend,
Como
Cesc
coach,
Fabregas,
yes.
got to give him some love.
Yeah.
Luis Diaz doing well for Liverpool. Roma keeper Svilvar did well. Fabio Silva, Las Palmas, Julio Enciso for Ipswich, and, like I mentioned, Kyle Larin. Worst team, honorable mention. I don't know if you guys saw who my coach was, Ange Postecoglou. Honorable mention, Ruben Amorim, because between the two of you, I don't know. I don't know. So...
I mean, sorry, I know this is supposed to be coming from Chantel, but I will say it whilst we'll stay here. One other player that's supposed to have made it in your best 11 was a player called KlintonCod that played for Leganés on Saturday, which is quite sad.
Where would I put you playing? Like what position?
Instead of who? Like, who are you taking?
Who are you taking
No,
out?
obviously in your best 11, not the worst.
No,
Yeah, but
I
who?
know. I'm
Someone
waiting
has to
for the
go.
best to come back. I'm waiting for the best to come back so we can see where KlintonCod is going to be put over.
Who are you taking the place?
I think first of all, the kind of goals I scored, I think they were literally very beautiful and magical, and the fans pretty much they know, and that's why I believe I should deserve some kind of.
Okay, I'll take. You know what? Here's what I'll do. We'll take out Dimitrovic. We'll put Clinton in between the sticks.
Oh my Jesus Christ! So for all the goals I scored, you're putting me at the back for real?
Well, because you have the injury after that flip.
MG, wow.
So I mean,
can't
at
run
least
much.
you got a bit of the hip and the
my
ankle,
flip-
so at least your hand still works.
So my flip is taking me out from being at that.
Hey, listen, you said you're not able to play for a little bit, so we'll put him as a keeper.
Resting a little.
No, at least.
Hey, at least you made it. No, you know what? I should have put you in. I
still feel like
We
we're
could
not
put like a
speaking.
sporty logo beside it.
But hang on, I don't know if we still have the video of my stuff, but there's something I believe that a lot of people are not speaking about, which is really annoying me so much. There's something I did, one of the free kick goals, that it was against, literally, it was against me. And when I say against me, hang on, thank God it's on the screen now. This was a penalty, not this one. But yeah, this was the one. Listen, Listen, the reason why I had to do this backflip was because, oh my God, I
It's
wish,
actually.
no wait. Nah, but listen, what y'all need to understand.
Clinton, the more
They are
I see it,
shaming
the funnier
you.
it gets. And I'm glad I was there to see it
Nah,
in person. Like,
Oh
I'm so glad
my
I was there.
goodness. They are taking the piss, Clinton, the shade.
Nah, but
The way you're always losing the pen.
no, yeah, this one,
Oh my
this
God,
one,
yeah.
knowing
Sorry,
that.
were these pants not
He's
fit you?
always, no, I think he had the mics that were a little too heavy.
very
So
heavy,
he's always
actually.
trying to pull everything up.
He kept on,
I didn't even notice
look
it
at
until
that.
now. You look like Lamine Yamal.
With the lower lip.
Yeah, he always has his pants low.
No,
Oh
but
my God, Clint.
but that goal, it was meant to be for a left-foot player. And I remember Mendela telling me, "Are you left-footed?" I'm like, "No." And he did say to me, like, how you going to score this? I'm like, well, and they kept on saying, "Clinton, there's no time. You need to shoot. You need to shoot." I pretty much felt like there's no way I was going to score. And I just tried it. And look at how sweet. Like, that's meant to be, oh my.
Sorry.
Wow,
The
they
way they're
are
zooming in
not.
and showing this over and over
Yeah,
again.
the controller.
Oh, and look at
shady.
my throw as well, though. Ola Aina needs to come talk
Do
to
you
me.
know when you guys were going up, I didn't know what
What are you
challenges
doing?
you guys were going to do until it was halftime and I saw everything being set up. I had no clue. I saw, oh, we're doing throw-ins. I knew you, come on. Of course you're going to beat him in throw. One thing I was sure is that you would beat him in throw-ins.
Yeah.
But as a professional footballer, oh, you can't throw the ball? Not the end of the day, is it, guys? Come on. Okay. Well, KlintonCod, you can get into my 11 for the weekend. Chantal, let's go to you and hear what everyone has to say about the best and the worst and who I missed.
Okay, guys, so disclaimer, because I know you guys like to tussle when it comes on to me. These are not my comments. So I'm just putting that out there. Derby says, I think Sara's lineups is based on goals only. Emmanuel says, no Barca player in the worst 11. Sara is not being fair this time. Emmanuel says, De Bruyne deserves to be in the best 11. And Abu Bakar says, Asensio should be included in the worst team. Dude failed to score a penalty twice in the same game. I saw multiple persons saying that De Bruyne deserved to be in the best 11.
I agree with that one.
Markinde says Camavinga's performance does not deserve any best 11 slot. It was a flat performance from Madrid, no good display from anyone. And Young
Coming
Millie
from
says, I
Markinde,
think
though.
the worst. Yeah. Young Millie says, I think the worst coach over the weekend has to be Glasner. How do you go 2-0 up against City and completely bottle it?
Oh, well, you never know
So
what you'll
those
get
are
with
it.
City.
Yeah, but that City one, definitely, I think Kevin De Bruyne needed a shout there. My man literally...
I'm happy to give Kevin De Bruyne a shout, and if you guys want to, shank Camavinga out of it, that's no problem for me. And if any of you at home would listen and use your ears, you heard that I put him in there not because of his necessary performance, but because of how bad.
The mental side of it.
Exactly, because football is so much about mental game too,
Yeah.
and he was so bad, so bad against Arsenal. He got a red card in the final moments. That was so unnecessary. And then he comes back, and he is the reason why Real Madrid got 3 points.
Exactly.
You want me to take him off? Fine. But I think that takes a lot of mental game. And I think it shows a lot from the youngster, especially with all the hate he's been getting this season. So if you guys want to do that to him,
No, I think
that's
he
on
should
you.
stay.
But I'm not
He
doing
should
that.
stay.
I'm happy to give Kevin De Bruyne, though, a shout.
Yeah, for sure.
You miss seeing Kevin De Bruyne perform at this level. I feel like it's just been so different this season.
No, definitely. That was the one first game I felt like, wow, where is this? Literally, that was the first best Manchester City game I've seen in ages.
Yeah.
If you saw the game, how they were able to come back from that.
It was 2-2 in like the 35th.
Yeah.
It was chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was
Yeah.
proper
A lot
chaotic,
happened,
and that's the reason why I don't think. Okay, yeah, we had Kovacic in your.
Kovacic was in there.
Yeah, no, he definitely had a very brilliant game. In all honesty, I think he did have a goal as well. I can't remember. Yeah, I think Kovacic did score.
Yes, he did. He did.
No, I think there were quite a few Manchester City players I felt like they did exceptionally well, and I just kept on saying to myself, I just wish that this is going to be them to the end of the season, just to at least make their fans forget all that bad
the
time
bad
they've
happened.
had, especially coming out from the Champions League, not being able to stay up there when it comes to what they are known for, the Premier League, having this last couple of games, even for Kevin De Bruyne at home, has pretty much announced his departure from the
Yeah.
club. I think this is the time he wants to end it in the
On a
best
good note.
on a very
Yeah.
good note. You know, instead of saying I was the legend of this club, I did everything I could, and then my last season was kind of like shady, came
Yeah.
from me. I mean, we would never see a Kevin De Bruyne have that kind of long time going off from playing football for Manchester City, and knowing that, you know, he's come back to a really poor. Everything about Manchester City literally crumbled the moment, you know, the whole Rodri got injured, the whole Ballon d'Or. There was just something off that just came with the club. But, you know, from this last performance, if they can continue like that till the end of it, I believe that the fans will be able to forgive them.
Yeah,
right.
and it does give them hope for the next season, I guess. You know, you could start new.
If they're able to just make sure they are playing Champions League football next
Yeah,
season, I pretty
as
much
of
think
now,
the fans will,
they are, but you know,
Well,
you
we'll
never know
see.
what-
There's still
know what
a
happens.
few games to go.
You never know what does happen. All right, well, a lot has happened in the world of football that we haven't been able to get to just yet. So let's have a little summary. Take a look at this.
Drama, legends, heartbreak, and chaos are all on the menu today. Let's start with the hottest headline in Paris. Kylian Mbappé isn't leaving quietly. The French superstar is demanding a jaw-dropping 55 million euros from PSG. Why? Because the club allegedly still owes him a lot, including 3 months of salary. And yes, we're talking about those months where everyone thought everything was cool. Spoiler, it wasn't. Now, from a money bite to a literal one, Luis Suarez has done it again. During Inter Miami versus LAFC, the Uruguayan striker was caught in a scuffle and apparently bit Jordi Alba's hand. You'd think he'd retire that move, but this marks bite number 4 in his career. Let's recap. 2010 versus Othman Bakal, 2013 versus Ivanovic, 2014 versus Chiellini, and now 2025 versus Jordi Alba. Iconic striker? Yes. Repeat offender with his teeth? Also yes. But it's not all about fights and lawsuits. Some moments remind us why we love the game. Last night in Brazil, we got to witness a Neymar and Thiago Silva reunion at the Fluminense versus Santos match. Two brothers in football together again. From Santos to PSG, these two have shared goals, heartbreak, and decades of friendship. But back to the shadows, and it gets serious. Dimitri Payet, currently playing in Brazil for Vasco da Gama, is facing grave accusations from a 20-year-old lawyer named Larissa Ferrari. She says Payet subjected her to physical, psychological, and sexual abuse during a romantic relationship that began last year. And finally, tragedy in Santiago, Chile, where two fans, a 13-year-old boy and an 18-year-old woman, died outside the Monumental Stadium before a Copa Libertadores game between Colo-Colo and Fortaleza.
All right, well, a lot to dig into there. Welcome, Nua, to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I feel like I'm just going to say that we should start with what's going on in Chile, because I know that a lot of people, including you, I think, might not know what happened last week in the Copa Libertadores match against Colo-Colo and Fortaleza. But two kids were killed by the police in Chile.
To give some context to those who don't know about the affair, it was during a match between Colo-Colo and Fortaleza. And while there was this entire altercation between the fans who wanted to go in early on, and then the police, there was a fence that fell, and it fell on two people, one woman who was 18-year-old, and then a child. He was only 13. And so that's the version that the police gave us, and then we have the version that one of the victim's sister gave, and it's that, yes, the fence fell, and then the police car came and went over the fence. So it's homicide.
So in Chile, they have these, basically they're like tanks at football games called Carabineros de Chile, and they ran over two fans. And there's right now an investigation as to what's going on whose fault was it with the fans trying to break in. Because at these games, and for all the South Americans that you know, these games are chaos. Like they are nothing like anything in Europe. You know, people are, you know, they're climbing up the fences, they're singing the whole time. The ultra section is, quite frankly, dangerous a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So these two kids were ran over by the cops, and now Colo Colo is no longer allowed to have fans at any home games in the Libertadores or any away games. But I think the bigger picture here is that the fact that not a lot of people knew about this, and I think we need to protect football. And I think CONMEBOL, I am personally calling on you because this is absolutely, it's unacceptable in football.
Especially since after all this time, of course, like you said, it's been going on. You think that they would make sure that everything goes well every time, but every time it's the same thing. And now we have two children who lost their lives. And that shows how brutal it can be, because what are we gonna do? Like, not let children go to games anymore? Like, it needs to be way more protective over the fans.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who need to enjoy the games. I don't think telling them not to go enjoy the games is the right thing to do.
You know how when it comes to African football, we talk about here, especially AFCON, that there's a stereotype that people don't look at the, let's say, the quality of African football because of everything that's gone on. I think that translates to a stereotype that people have with CONMEBOL football in South America, that it, you know, it can be really dangerous, and that, you know, these kind of things happen and they don't take a stance. But some of the best footballers that have ever played this game come out of South America. We know that, to be honest, that's where football lives. That's where the passion of football lives. You have Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, all these places that they need to do better in order to protect their fans, their players, everyone involved, because this is a footballing continent. And if you're going to pride yourself by having the best football in the world and the best players come out of it, then you need to protect the people that are involved, from fans to players to anyone. So, yeah, really, our thoughts are with the families, and I'm hoping CONMEBOL steps up.
I think something else I was going to say is, obviously, when you mentioned African football, I think if we tend to dig deep into the Nigerian league, for example, every single thing that happens week in, week out, you know, if you decide to start writing stories about them, I think you would even get hundreds of stories. Just this last weekend, a player was literally stabbed in the neck because I don't know if they won the game or something, and their opponent actually attacked them.
Was it an accident, or was it?
No, like fight after the game, because this is what usually happens in our Nigerian league. I'm sorry to say it out. I know Nigerians would not want me to say this part of our Nigerian football, but, you know, there's always violence. There's always that whole thing of maybe fans are destroying the team buses, or people are literally having wars. Like, and when I'm talking about war, it's like they're having real physical fights. You know, because maybe they've come to our home, they've won us, and now, do you know, at some point they have to keep players in, like, locked up to the next day. Like,
a lot of the times there's serious security.
But, and you know, for me, I don't understand what people are beginning to think these days. It's meant to be a game, you know. It's meant to be something that's meant to bring people together, to be happy together, whether they say, you know, there's a loss, whatever it is. You know, it's meant to bring some certain kind of joy. What we're seeing these days is it's now become something scary, where we are not having to think so much before even having any kind of game happening in these different geographical parts of the world. Like, you know, looking at what's happening in South America. Yes, of course, South America, they probably have that kind of, you know, violent DNA that I would say in Africa we do have too. And, you know, I don't know why this football, you know, entities or the football regulators are not able to kind of bring some kind of sanity or have some kind of, would I say, some kind of lecturing on this.
Just give people peace of mind.
Yeah,
like you can, like you said, children go to games, players can play without feeling that they're in danger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a growing industry, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, security should be a base to anything, especially to an industry where you get to get tons of people come and watch an event. So security should be. I don't think any mother or any husband or any brother should let their significant other children go to a game while having this fear of what if something happens to him. Yeah, it's just a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so sad that people would have to not have.
Now we can't go to games.
You know, just because of being scared of either losing your life or getting injured or, you know, any kind of incident. There was a time where I was literally very scared of going to crowds. You know, especially, you know, I don't know if you remember what happened with I can't remember the lady from. He came to do this concert in Manchester, an American artist, and, you know, there was some.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah, that's what Ariana Grande. And since then, I've literally been scared about, you know, big crowds.
We have those in Morocco too. So many.
We have to. I'm sorry, we have to go. We're running out of time here. So listen, hopefully we can change this sport in football, especially CONMEBOL, and make this a much safer place for everyone involved. All right, Nua, thank you so much for joining the show as always. Chantal, thank you. Clinton, always a pleasure. Guys, coming up right after this, as a reminder, Huesca and Malaga in action in La Liga Hypermotion. And tomorrow, it's time. We are back. Champions League watch along the quarterfinals. The second leg, we have Barcelona at Signal Iduna and Aston Villa and PSG in action. It's Aston Villa, right? It's not PSG. It's Aston Villa
Yes.
and PSG. It's not Inter and Bayern and Real Madrid and Arsenal. That will be on Wednesday. So join us again tomorrow for a Champions League watch along. Until then, as always, enjoy the football.
Ebwe, KlintonCod, Bits Mendieta. Boom!